Welcome. You made it. I'm Ben Hindman. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Splash, and today I'm going to give you our quick take on the virtual event technology space. You know, right when quarantine started, our Splash community started compiling a list of the top event technologies in the virtual space, and this video is meant to be a synthesis of what we learned. I tried my best to only include products that I've investigated or demoed myself, and please forgive me if I've misbucketed or oversimplified a product value proposition. There definitely is a ton of overlap in the space, and I did my best to try to simplify. But again, big thanks to our Splash community for coming together and help contribute to this list. Now, as we went through our process, we heard a lot of the same things, common things being said. So I wanted to call them out right out front. Number one, I want to create a differentiated attendee experience, something that really stands out. Number two, we heard over and over again, I need my brand to be consistent throughout the event and my data to be connected to the rest of my marketing mix. And number three, at least so far, we heard over and over again that none of the dozens or even hundreds of virtual event platforms are perfect for me yet. So that says to me that there's a lot of great platforms out there, but maybe a lot of room for innovation. You know, before we kick this off and talk about all these platforms, I want to call it that it can get confusing in there. So it's helpful to bucket these solutions in terms of, you know, applications and platforms, then the underlying technologies or point solutions that can plug in or stand on their own, and then the service providers and producers that help you put these events together and make sure they go off without a hitch. Now, I'm going to be focusing on the top two, the technology and application stuff. And I won't be spending too much time on the service providers and producers, other than to say that if you've got a really important event, I would highly recommend you bring on someone who knows what they're doing. Okay, let's kick off and talk about technology, though, with our favorite application, our own Splash. Splash is an event marketing software that helps enterprise businesses scale. We specialize in helping you brand your events, promote it, capture registrations, including selling tickets, all the notifications and reminders and confirmations that drive attendance, guest list management, a check-in, which includes virtual check-in now and check-out, all the reporting and data management, as well as integrations in your CRM, and all the follow-up stuff, including surveys. And as you can imagine, over the past couple months, we've been focusing hard on evolving our connections and our integrations to the rest of the virtual event technology stack. And so let's talk about some of the technologies that we integrate with, including webinar and meeting software. You know, the first place that we saw events, virtual events, meetups, and virtual gatherings were on the tools that businesses had already been using and had spun up. We actually saw a lot of creative events on some of these platforms right off the bat. So these names should look pretty darn familiar. And it's no surprise that they're being created by some of the biggest businesses in the world, players that are really competing for the hearts and minds of the enterprise collaborative meeting space. So a lot of action, there'll be a lot of innovation in the webinar meeting space over the next couple of years. But we're also seeing event marketers really take advantage of the social platforms where there's already an embedded audience. You know, they're using it to extend their reach and grow their network or build a community on top of these audiences. And, you know, of course, these pieces of software haven't even gotten started yet. We're seeing all sorts of creative content across the social streaming space. And lastly, on the application side at least, is what I call the gold rush, the conferencing software. This space is just white hot right now with some terrific technologists backed by a ton of venture capital. These platforms here are looking to crack the code on what makes for a natural attendee experience that feels like the real life conferences that we went to before quarantine. Of course, each of these platforms comes with its own strengths, its own weaknesses, and its, you know, perspectives and points of view. And none of them are fully baked. So stand by. My expectation is we're going to see a lot of movement over the next 24 months in this space. And I can't wait to partner and keep track of this. It's going to be really exciting. And so those are the application layer, and those are kind of the usual suspects, but let's start to drill into some of the bigger innovators in technology, which are often the point solutions or the technology layer that sits underneath those applications. First and foremost, we have to call out that the roads are being built right now in the streaming and the recording services space. There are some great pieces of software that are being made to be customized or embedded or built on top of by developers. So if you're building an event application, a virtual event application, or you're thinking about building your own virtual experience from scratch, there's some great options that you can choose from right here and turn to actually build and stream. In addition to that, you can really think about how to create more compelling keynotes and content. Of course, in a virtual space, design is more important than ever, and there's so much attention focused on the screen. These companies here are really evolving how we present, how we display information. And there's a lot of great DIY technologies for leveling up your keynotes, as well as like some near sci-fi options if you're willing to invest in a team. Take a look at some of these. They're really crazy the way that they're creating presentations. This is an area that you might have thought to be boring, but it's really going to end up being a really important innovation space in the next couple of years. The poll and chat space is going to continue to evolve and innovate using bots, robust intent data, natural language processing, search, personalization, and eventually AI. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that evolves. And the collaboration space, just like the polling and chat space, is going to continue to look for ways to engage and get attendees to make and build and design things together. Heck, you might even see a piece of software that actually makes virtual events fun. So keep track of this space. I'm definitely looking forward to some innovation here. As I think about what will be the seismic shift in the virtual event technology space, I do think that it's going to be here in the navigation and the breakout space, how we move through to from areas of interest or in between different conversations. That's going to unlock networking, and it's going to unlock a natural experience of choose your own adventure. And so there are some businesses that are really tackling this, both from an audio standpoint, as well as from trying to recreate serendipity. So take a look at some of these technologies and how they're trying to make it possible for you to navigate all around an event. Some really exciting stuff happening here. And lastly, we have to call this out. If your virtual event can be super well designed and have the best technology and team behind it, but if you don't get anyone there, it kind of doesn't matter. So in the next turn, we're going to see a lot of focus on distribution technologies. I do think that we'll see some semi-automation, like the rise of the matchmaker or the promoter or the host committee. But more than anything, I expect that in this next turn, event and field marketers are going to have to get better and better at paid acquisition and driving demand generation. Okay, that was a lot, and there's a lot going on. And so our goal at Splash was to simplify. Our mission here is to make events easy to host. So we approached this problem by trying to solve just two major challenges. Challenge number one is what we call the data gap. Here's a great quote from Tom Guns from Redpoint, a great VC. He says, because marketers can learn from every interaction at an event, the novel data from a virtual event empowers marketers to serve customers better. But we ask the question, are we capturing the right data? Are we tracking it? And are we integrating it into our system? So we attack that first. And next, we started looking at what we call the attention gap. This is a great stat that just came out of a survey from Trust Radius's event. They said that the average person gets close to, ready for this, 5 times as many webinar invitations as webinars that they actually attend. So the question we asked is, how do you convey to your attendees that you should be a 1 in 5 experience? And so this is how we approached it. Our strategy was to make it easy, to build awesome experiences with the tools that you have, the ones you've already chosen. And when you're ready for that newest piece of technology, we're going to be right here and just plug that into Splash. And so there are 2 ways to plug your technology into Splash. Way number 1 is to integrate it. We've already started with some deep native integrations with some of these with these logos on the screen here. And there's more to come. And this is all about connecting your guest lists and automating that experience. Or you can embed really anything directly into Splash and put it behind a wall. And sometimes when it doesn't make sense to embed it, we even give you an option to link it out, but still capture that check-in data. And our idea here is that you can find any streaming software and embed it right into Splash. And, for that second option, the embed, what that really means by being able to put anything behind a custom branded wall, it means that it's finally possible to have a fully branded, gated live stream or meeting. It's just all automatically set up and ready to go when you create an event. It creates this beautiful, seamless experience for the attendees. They don't have to download any additional software or navigate multiple URLs. It's secure, it's simple. They just RSVP, they click a link, and they're checked in. And you'll know who checked in and how long they stayed. And so here are some examples of the types of page that we're seeing being created with this touch point. It's very cool and very flexible. So as you can see here, people are doing some really cool stuff in the event technology space, and I've covered a lot of ground. And the one thing I haven't talked about yet is the on-demand experience. What happens after your event? How do you make sure your content lives on? And the reason I haven't talked about it yet is because if you're watching this video, you've already experienced our on-demand flow. We're inside of it right now, which comes right out of the box. This comes right out of the box with your virtual event page on Splash. And so if you enjoyed this experience, I'll tell you what, why don't you just go ahead and just share this page with your head of marketing or head of marketing operations, or your head of field marketing, just whoever really handles virtual events. Just share this link, just pass that along and tell them you want to plug into Splash. Okay, thanks for checking us out here. I hope you learned something. If you have any new ideas or new pieces of technology that you're building or you know of, please send them our way. We're keeping this list going. And until we meet again in person, I can't wait to see you online for your next awesome virtual event. Thanks for checking it out.